Since getting stomped out by the Atlanta Hawks on New Year's Eve, Minnesota have won 4 straight games in seriously impressive style. Apart from just playing better on both sides of the ball, there's been one pretty big change to their offense. Anthony Edwards is running more set plays. Now, Ant has been the de facto point guard for Minnesota all season long, but in these past 4 games, we've seen a lot more structured, designed actions for Edwards himself, but more importantly, for Edwards to initiate as a point guard. That's something we really haven't seen much in his entire career before right now. It was the most noticeable in the second game of this win streak against the Wizards that he was calling out and executing plays like this simple staggered pin down action to get Jaden McDaniels going downhill. McDaniels had been struggling for a few games before this, so having Ant 3 possessions in a row in the first quarter, get Minnesota into these 2 pin downs, and get McDaniels going, felt like the exact thing you want a quote-unquote point guard to do. It's not a flashy play, but it's what McDaniels needed. You can see here that each time, it's Ant directing the set, setting up those screens, and then making that simple pass to finish the action. And from there, it became more and more obvious that this was something Minnesota is starting to lean on, and that there was a few plays they've clearly woven into Ant's point guard playbook. I love this away zoom action where it looks like Bones here is going to set a flare screen for Ant to drift off to the corner, but instead he flips it around into an away screen so Ant can come back up, take a handoff, and because Bones is the only player on this empty side, his man can't fully commit to tag Gobert's role, so when Ant draws the big, Gobert slides behind the defense, and it's a designed action to get Edwards throwing a lob to Gobert, which we just don't see enough between these two. Here it is again against a better defense. Again, it's Bones flipping into that away screen, and it's the same thing for the defense. Ant's man is stuck chasing, so Gobert's man has to step up, the weak side defender can't commit to the tag, and Gobert slips behind the action for a designed lob. We just haven't seen Ant force the issue on actions like this very often. Watch him here tell Jaden McDaniels the play call, and here it's good defense because Mitchell switches it sharply, but because the whole point is to open the middle of the floor, even Rudy Gobert gets the runway to take his man off the dribble. I mean, maybe this action just gives Gobert superpowers, because when Ant backdoors against that switch defense here, Gobert finds him with a very unexpected bullet. Another action we've seen Ant orchestrate lately is Minnesota's horns out chase action, where one player on the elbow sets a screen for the other player on the elbow so he can flare out to the wing while the screener chases out into another screen on the ball. Again, against Washington, it's fairly easy for Minnesota to work the action, and I love that it ends back in Edwards' hand for a catch and shoot 3, but against a better defense like Cleveland, you can see Minnesota has more options off that action. So when McDaniels catches here, instead of using that chase screen, they reverse the action, and DiVincenzo is coming off a weak side pin down into a spot up 3 ball. And all of that is just flowing through Edwards as that connective tissue for Minnesota's play calls. And it's important that Edwards is still involved in plays as more than the initiator. When he curls off these horns out actions, he's the one on this team who can draw these defensive crowds. He's the one who can force teams into scrambling defensive rotations. And he's the one who can relocate after a kick out and make catch and shoot 3s at a godlike level. That's what's been really impressive to me lately, how right now Minnesota has Ant balancing both setting up plays and finishing off plays as a scorer. I think both of these things have been lacking in their offense for years, and all of a sudden it feels like a real priority. Their latest win over the Cavs provided a really good example of that when they had him setting up these horns elbow get actions. It's Ant giving Randall a simple elbow extended catch, and the first read is a fake handoff into a rim dive for Edwards so that he can be the scorer of Randall's playmaking, and that's a really nice play call to open a game. The next time they do it, instead of curling around Randall, Ant pushes through the middle of the floor so they can get both options of both Randall using a ball screen to open up a look that he wants, or Ant curling off this pin-in screen for a shot that he wants. We've seen Mike Conley initiate these actions, but not really with Edwards. And they're obviously just going to be deadlier with Ant, because with him, they now have the option for the high-low pass, or Ant flying off a flex screen, and I love that he's not always forcing this 3-point look if the defense plays it well, or forcing the contested jumper if the defense crowds him. I'd like to see him make the read back to Randall a little quicker, but it's such a great action that the Cavs defense is compromised to the point that it doesn't matter to Randall going downhill. It's the same thing here when he comes out of this floppy action as the scoring option. That's a tough shot against a good closeout, and a tougher look when the pincers close on him, but making the right pass out of it opens up a wide open shot that Minnesota would take on any possession. When a superstar player like Edwards makes the right decisions, it often just ends up back with him in more advantageous positions anyway. Like here, he starts the play, swings off the flex action with Conley, and he doesn't have a good look right away, but a pass and a cut opens one up for him, and that's exactly the way to freestyle off a play call and still end up with a great shot. And look, it's not always going to end in a bucket. There's going to be missed shots, there's going to be turnovers, there's going to be times where these things look sloppy, but this being a new development in Minnesota's offense is still noteworthy. This is a good example of that, I think. Edwards is setting up this Spain action where Conley is the decoy cutter, so Ant and Gobert can play pitch and catch, but that turns into Spain pick and roll, where Conley sets the back screen on Gobert's man, and Edwards and Conley press the right buttons out of it to get Gobert a great lob dunk. That's a great play call that worked to perfection, but when they run a similar action with DiVincenzo setting a ram screen for Gobert and then doing the same thing by flaring out of a Spain action, it's still a great play call, but the defense sniffs it out and makes a play, and it's a live ball turnover and a bucket on the other end. Still, I think this is very good development for Minnesota and for Edwards. It's not stopping him from going and getting the buckets he's been making a living on outside of these designed actions, or doing anything to take away from his natural game as a scorer, but it is increasing his value as a ball handler and playmaker, and giving Minnesota's offense the structure that they do lack at times. I hope this is a thing we see a lot more of going forward. And if you want to see more breakdowns like this one, subscribe to the channel and drop a like or a comment to help Howls and Growls grow. Thanks again for watching.